Hi guys, it's
Lauren Daisy.
welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about the death of Maya Saint Germain. So this for me is one of the biggest deaths in PLL. I feel like it definitely is the one that I feel has probably the most impact. Since I done the night that Alison De Laurentiis disappeared, it kind of gave me that bug to talk about just more like individual deep dives into specific storylines. So today we're going to talk about Maya's death, and I also have like a couple other ones because I feel like PLL can be a bit complicated at times. So I'm here to sort it out for you. If you ever thought to yourself, that was very confusing, what actually happened there, we're going to talk about it today. Also, I feel like I can't go on without addressing this. So under here, under this picture, is my Ultimate Gossip Girl wall. I have a few more things to film for it, and I'm in the middle of editing it now, and I promise it is coming, it is on its way. It is just so much. It's just such a huge project, especially for me, just because I just do this on my ones. So yeah, it's a long old project, but I am really excited for you guys to see the final part. So yeah, make sure that you like and comment and subscribe and everything, because that is coming soon, I pinky promise. So obviously Maya Saint Germain is a character that we are introduced to in the pilot of Pretty Little Liars right from the first episode of season 1. She's introduced to us as one of the more carefree characters. She has a real focus on individuality and not caring what others think and being open and expressing yourself. And she is a really sweet character. She has quite a lot of depth to her. But ultimately, I think she was a mishandled character. I think they definitely could have done a lot more with her story, and especially with her connection with Emily. That's kind of how she's introduced to us, is a love interest for Emily for season 1 and 2. So before we get into the timeline of her actual death and that sequence of events, I'm just going to give you a little bit of backstory. So Maya moves in to Alison's old house. So obviously Alison disappeared, and her parents just found it too difficult to live in that house, and they ended up moving away with Jason. And then Maya and her parents, and I think in the book she has a brother, but we don't ever see him in the show, and I don't think she ever mentions him. So there may potentially be a brother floating around there as well. That's when Emily first meets her, when she moves in, and the two of them begin dating, and Pam is, she's not really giving ally. So she is very disapproving of Maya. I think just of Emily obviously being gay in general, but I think also Maya was kind of like very... I just loved Maya. When I talk about her, I just remember how much I loved her character. She was just very open and free and very, like I said, carefree, laid back, kind of like spiritual in that like a kind of sense. And I think that was just so not what Pam A is used to, or 2 expected for someone like that for Emily to end up with. So she is kind of disapproving of their relationship. She then goes through Maya's bag, and in there she finds weed, and she takes it to Maya's parents. And then Maya's parents decided to send her away to a Christian camp, I think it is, called True North. And they sent her over there for 3 months as kind of like, I don't know, just a way to kind of like get her back on track. In their eyes anyway, I guess they thought this was the best thing for her. Obviously Emily is incredibly upset when she has to leave and doesn't think that she should have to go to this camp. And I think they tell each other before she leaves that they love each other. And that's a really sweet moment. So then Maya goes away to True North for 3 months, and her and Emily kind of lose touch. Emily starts dating Paige, or she at least starts kind of flirting with Paige, and then Maya returns and she meets up with Emily again, and they kind of start to rekindle what they had. And that is kind of where this sequence of events begins. So the first kind of dodgy thing that happens is that we see Maya get a call from somebody while she is with Emily, and she seems quite scared by it. She's visibly kind of shaken by it, and at this point we can assume that this was Lyndon James. So while Maya was at True North, she had a boyfriend, and his name is Lyndon James, and when she returns, she has broken up with him because she intends on choosing Emily and getting back together with Emily. So based on obviously how this story ends, we can assume that this phone call was from him. But before she goes for dinner with Pam and Emily, Emily sees her talking to Noel Kahn. And when she questions her about this, Maya says that he was just fixing her phone, nothing's happening, it's all good. But Emily is still a bit suspicious about the whole thing. Then, while they're sat down having dinner at the Rosewood Grill, she gets another text, and she kind of jokingly says, "Oh, it's just my stalker." And when Emily and Pam are kind of looking at her, she says that she's just joking, but it is a guy that she was seeing while she was at True North, that kind of can't accept that they are now over. And again, we know this to be Lyndon. And this is kind of the first time that Emily hears of this guy, and is also surprised that she dated someone while she was there.
Sorry about that. It's just my stalker. I'm just kidding. I dated this guy at True North, and he's having trouble accepting that it's over.
A little bit later on, I think a couple days later or so, Maya tells Emily that her parents found an old joint of hers from back before she went to True North, but they don't believe her that it's old and that she's quit. They think that it's a new one, so they're going to send her back to True North. And obviously this devastates Emily. She doesn't want to lose Maya again, and she invites her to this swim team party after one of their meets, and Maya isn't really enjoying herself. She says she feels like, a bit of an outcast amongst the kind of preppy, school kids and the athletes, and she doesn't really know where she kind of fits in. And then later on in the night, Emily catches her smoking a joint outside, and she is upset that Maya lied to her, saying that it was an old one. And, Maya was like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't that old. And they get into a bit of an argument. Maya insists that she won't go back to True North. She can't do it. So she is going to go and stay with friends of hers in San Francisco. And she asks Emily to come with her, but Emily says that she can't. And because, she has, at this point, she's living in Hannah's house, but she stayed in Rosewood to be with the girls and to pursue her swimming and stay at Rosewood so that she could then get her scholarship. And because of this, she tells Maya she can't leave with her, but this upsets Maya, and Maya ends up leaving the party. And then after this, Emily tries to call her, and she's leaving her voicemails, but Maya doesn't call her back. So Maya then packs a bag, and she leaves her parents a note. And in this bag, she had clothes, she had a birthday card that Emily had written to Alison, because she got they found a few of her old things when they moved into her house. A ticket to San Francisco and a knife that had LJ carved into it. And obviously we know this now stands for Lyndon James. The next day, I think it is, or maybe a couple days later, Barry, the police officer, comes to see Emily to let her know that Maya is officially classed as a missing person. Emily and Wayne then go to the bus station to try and get some information, and the guy at the counter says that he did see Maya and that she did buy a ticket to go to San Francisco, but he can't confirm if she got on the bus or not, and obviously we know that she didn't. He also says that he saw her talking to somebody in a dark coloured car, and they don't actually confirm who this was, but I think we can probably assume that it was Noel, because she obviously was confiding in him, and later on she does end up staying at his cabin, so I think maybe this was him picking her up and offering her a place to stay, because we're not sure exactly when Maya began staying at Noel Kahn's cabin, but with, the fact that she had just packed her bags and she was planning on leaving, I would assume that it was around this kind of time when she was fighting with her parents. When Emily returns home from the bus station, she then sees that she has a missed call from Maya, but when she goes to call it back, her voicemail inbox is full. A little while later, I'm not sure exactly how long, she receives a text from Maya, well, it's signed by Maya, saying that she is fine, but she can't tell anyone that Maya contacted her. She then later receives an email saying that she admires Emily's bravery and that she wishes she hadn't come back to Rosewood, because when she left the first time to go to True North, her and Emily had kind of the perfect goodbye, and her now coming back has kind of ruined it. But again, she says, please don't tell her parents. But Emily does end up telling Maya's mum that she doesn't tell her where she is, because obviously Emily doesn't know where she is, but she does tell her that she is safe. Emily then receives an angry text from Maya saying that she thought that she could trust her. Now, we find out that Maya's phone was actually stolen, so this can't have been her. We can probably assume that it was Lyndon, but it's kind of frustrating because at the time they made it seem as though her death was connected to A, and maybe they had stolen the phone or something else had happened and it was all kind of intertwined. But I guess it must have just been Lyndon texting Emily from her phone, but I don't really know why or what the point of this was. Emily also receives a call from the number, but the call drops out before she's able to speak to them, and this is while she and the liars are staying at the Lost Woods resort. This is the day before Maya's death. So now we've reached the day of her death, which is April the 13th, 2011, and Maya had left a letter outside of Hannah's back door for Emily, because obviously Emily was staying there. We don't know exactly when she left it. We would assume that it was probably in the morning of the day that she died, or maybe, you know, kind of like the afternoon sort of time. We don't have an exact time for it, but Emily doesn't end up finding this letter until months later, after Maya had already died and it had kind of been washed out by the rain. The note asks Emily to meet her, but we don't know, because of where the rain washed it off, which address she was talking about. It could have been Noel's cabin, or it could have been Emily's house potentially. So Maya's letter says, Emily, I'm sorry for everything. I know we've had a disconnect lately. I hope you'll give me a chance to explain. I have something to show you. Don't call my cell. Someone stole it. Meet me. And then we can't see the address. They don't really explain what it was that Maya wanted to show Emily. I don't know if it was this video. She records a video for her. I don't know if that was it, if she wanted to watch it with Emily next to her, or if she was going to kind of explain what was happening with the stalker. They kind of make it seem like, oh, she had something to show her, maybe it's to do with A, but as we know, A is not connected to her death at all, so yeah. They kind of breadcrumbs for nothing. So after this, she then records a video for her website. In season 3, they discover that Maya had a website called I think it's like Mass Sugar or something. It's like MASSUGAR.com, I think. And they get Caleb to hack into it. Is Maya's site. She posted videos on there and diary entries and things like that. And Emily finds a couple of different videos on there, one of which is this video that she filmed on the day of her death.
I have to face my fears. I can't hide forever.
She basically says that she can't be a coward anymore and that she needs to face her fears. And at this point, a cop car pulls up. Aria then finds out by going to a guy called Bart Comstock, who works at the movie theatre. He tells her that he actually witnessed this interaction on the day, and the car that she got into was Garrett Reynolds' car. And he actually does end up getting arrested for her death, but he is later proved innocent when we find out that it was actually Lyndon. So she got into Garrett's car and he takes her back home around 9 p.m. But when she arrives, her parents aren't there, so she then rides her bike over to Noel Khan's cabin, and we see her disappear through the back door on his security camera at around 10 p.m. It's kind of wild because she's declared missing, but she's also just kind of walking around. Like she went to Hannah's house, and then she was also must have been walking back to somewhere. She must have seen the pictures of herself in the newspaper. And yeah, she just walked past the movie theatre, so I don't know if Garrett picked her up being genuine, because he seemed to be a genuine cop at times, but then also was a little corrupt. So I don't know if he picked her up in his car being genuine, being like, right, I'm going to take you home. But yeah, when she gets there, she then leaves to go to Noel's place. Maya then films a video for Emily saying that she hopes to show it to her in person. So this could be, you know, the thing that she had to show her. But she hadn't filmed it yet, so I don't really know if that was the case. But anyway, she says that she thinks her stalker from True North has found her. She thinks she saw him at a party the other day, but it's not about him, it's about them. She says that she's finally coming home and she hopes that they can get through this together. And Lyndon ends up showing Emily this video when he kind of reveals that he was the one that killed her. And it's just so sad. It's so sad because they were supposed to be together, okay? Her and Emily, they were supposed to be endgame. They just were. So now, while all of this is happening, we are witnessing the masquerade ball. So the school is hosting the masquerade ball. The liars are there. Mona is there. Pretty much everyone from the town is there. So that kind of makes sense why it was so quiet around and maybe nobody saw her. But Jenna and Noel went to this together because they were dating. Jenna and Noel then come back from the masquerade ball at around 1:10 in the morning. And when they enter the cabin, Maya then leaves out of the back door because I don't think anyone was supposed to know that she was staying there. So she leaves out of the back door at around 1:14 a.m. And as she is leaving the cabin, that is when Lyndon grabs her. It's unclear if he actually ended up killing her here at Noel Khan's cabin and then taking her to Emily's back garden, or if he took her to Emily's back garden and then maybe when Emily wasn't there, or he just got so angry when they were talking that he then killed her there. But her body is discovered in Emily's back garden. Whether she was put there or she died there, we don't know. Okay guys, so when I was editing this video, I was getting clips for it and everything, and I noticed in the episode, I think it's What Lies Beneath, that Spencer actually has a copy of the police report. She has a copy of the medical examiner's report on Maya's death. And in this, it actually does confirm where she was killed. So it confirms that she was killed where her body was found, so in Emily's back garden. I've also noticed while editing this that I'm not entirely sure if this actually takes place on the same day as the masquerade ball. I always assumed that it did because I wasn't really sure how else like anyone would really find it, like would find her body if Pam wasn't there. And if Pam was there, then why would she not have noticed it sooner? But then I also saw that apparently when they found her body, it was already decomposing to the point that they couldn't really identify her or something like that. It's hard to know without literally watching all the episodes all the way through to catch little bits that they say. So that's also a possibility, that that she had been there for quite a while. So then, and this also does kind of line up actually, because I thought Noel and Jenna were coming back from the masquerade party, but then when I watched the clip, their outfits are just normal. Like, they're just in normal outfits unless they went to some kind of after party. So maybe Maya had been killed a couple of days before. I don't know how long it would take for like decomposition to set in enough for her to not be able to be really identified. Like, they thought it was her, but they weren't exactly sure. So we know that she was killed on April 13th, or April 12th going into April 13th. That is confirmed. But the actual date of the masquerade ball isn't confirmed. And I went and I checked on the invites that the liars receive, and it doesn't say the date on there. So it could be the same day. It also could be a different day, like the night that they go to the Lost Woods Resort. I don't know if that is confirmed to be the night before the masquerade ball. Again, I would have to watch it again. But potentially it could have been. But then also, if they're saying that her body was decomposed, it must have been a little bit longer than that. So again, PLL always confusing us, but that's okay. And I also forgot to mention that the cause of her death was strangulation. And this is mentioned in the coroner's report of her death, and they said that it appears that her throat was like crushed. So what we can assume happened was that maybe for some reason Lyndon wanted Maya to be found at Emily's house. That was a personal message that he was trying to send. Maybe he took her to Emily's house to confront Emily or something, and obviously then she wasn't there. Maybe they argued, he got angry with her, and he ended up strangling her and leaving her there, knowing that obviously then Emily would find her at some point, or at least there would be the impact of her being found at Emily's house. So that is that. Back to me before. So between 1:30 and 2 a.m, we know this is when he took her body to Emily's garden, or he killed her in Emily's garden. He then flees the scene, and the body, we assume, was discovered by Pam, because who else would have seen it if it was in Emily's back garden? And obviously Emily is at the masquerade ball. I think it's such a tricky one, because I think Emily finding out about her death in the way that she did was really impactful, but I think seeing those flashbacks and being actually able to witness Maya's death once Lyndon had been revealed to be her killer, I think seeing the flashback of it would have been really good, or seeing the moment that Pam actually discovered her would have been a really heart-wrenching moment, and I think that would have been kind of good to include, but we don't get to see any of that. So then the liars, obviously, in all of this time, they had left the masquerade ball, they have found out the Mona is A, and they are coming back. And they say that they're going to stay at Emily's house for the night. And while they're coming around the corner, they see the ambulances and all the people gathered, and Emily runs over, worried, I assume, that something happened to her mum, or, you know, something's going on at her house. And this is when Pam tells her what happened to Maya, and we see her body in the bag going into the coroner's van. So after this, Maya's murder goes unsolved for a number of months, and her death absolutely devastates Emily. I think it could have been Garrett, because he was also linked to Alison's death and all this, but then we discovered that it was actually Lyndon James. Now, Lyndon comes to Rosewood, and he pretends to be Nate St. Germain, Maya's cousin, in order to create a bond with Emily. He then invites her to a cabin, thinking that, you know, her family are going to be there, but when she shows up, it's just them two. And this is when he shows her the video that I told you about, and Emily realizes that he was the one that killed Maya. His motives for killing Maya were jealousy, because Maya had ultimately chosen Emily over him, and he couldn't handle it. He then threatens to kill Paige, Emily's current girlfriend, or at least kind of love interest, as a way to show Emily the pain that he felt when she took Maya from him. Emily then manages to escape, and she takes the knife that Maya had, the one that said LJ on it, and she goes up to the lighthouse. Lyndon chases her in there. They kind of have a bit of a tussle, and then she ends up stabbing him in the stomach, which ultimately kills him. But before he dies, he also manages to shoot Caleb, who had come up there to save Emily. Caleb is then sent to the hospital, and it is confirmed that Lyndon died of his injuries, and this is when the case of Maya St. Germain is officially solved. I feel like her death was impactful, and it obviously is huge in terms of Emily's character development and where her kind of story arc goes from here, but I kind of wish it had gone differently. I wish that it hadn't been Lyndon that had killed her. I think maybe if her death had been related to A, it would have been a lot better, especially because they left those breadcrumbs like, Miss Ari, you're a killer, not Ezra's wife. Maya knew. What was all that about, kind of thing. And then I think in an ideal world, I mean, I'm going to do a video on how I would have written PLL myself, how I would have ended it, but I think I would have really loved to see Maya come back. As well, Lyndon never technically confesses to killing Maya. They just kind of allude to it. Like, it's obvious that he was obsessed with her, but he never actually says, I killed her. So they definitely left that door open for her to still be alive, and then they just never went down that path. But I think that would have been a really, really good plot point. So I do think that's a shame. But yeah, that is the sequence of events of Maya's death. Let me know in the comments, did you like Maya? Were you upset when she died? Did you prefer, you know, kind of Paige or Allison for Emily? And yeah, let me know down in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.